Welcome to Life Stories, where the people you trust most sometimes become the ones who nearly end you. Imagine waking up next to someone every morning, sharing a home, a child, a life, only to discover they've orchestrated your death with the same calm precision they once used to plan your anniversary. This is a story about betrayal that cuts deeper than lies and love that leaves a mark far longer than bruises. But it's also about something else, something rare, the courage to survive, the strength to protect, and the haunting question of whether redemption is ever truly possible. Because when your entire world burns down, what do you build in its place? Justice or revenge? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you think you know about love, loyalty, and letting go. Now let's begin. The autumn rain tapped rhythmically against the windshield as Jack Hunter pulled into the driveway of his modest suburban home on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. The world outside was a blur of gray mist and fallen leaves, but inside the cab of his truck, the silence was taut. He sat for a long moment, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching the faint glow of the porch light flickering through the drizzle like a heartbeat slowing down. He should have felt safe here, after everything. But lately, even the quiet felt like a warning. Jack stepped out, his boots crunching against the gravel, and slung his duffel bag over his shoulder. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, had drawn a chalk dragon on the concrete path that led to the front door. Vibrant green wings, fire-red eyes. She had asked if dragons were real. He told her no. Now he wasn't so sure. "Daddy?" Lily's voice chimed from inside as he entered, her tiny feet padding across hardwood. She crashed into his legs, clutching her stuffed bunny Snowball. The scent of peanut butter and crayons clung to her hair. "Hey, sweetheart." He smiled, kneeling to hug her. "Where's Mom?" "Work trip," she mumbled into his chest. "She said bye-bye when you were still sleeping. Dana, always gone. Always somewhere else." Jack's wife had been different lately. Not in the obvious ways, no arguments, no slammed doors, but in the things she didn't say. The things she stopped doing. No more surprise dinners. No more soft touches on his back when he stood too long at the kitchen sink. She'd grown distant, hollow in the eyes, yet professionally sharper than ever. He chalked it up to stress. Everyone said working for Stratforce Global was high pressure, high stakes. Government contracts, corporate defense, classified ops. She'd made it clear, don't ask questions. So he hadn't. But something had been eating away at the edges. That something had just started to show its teeth. "Daddy," Lily whispered later that evening after a game of Uno and story time under a blanket fort. "Snowball's blinking." Jack frowned. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "She has a red light in her tummy. Like, like a robot. But I didn't put it there." The words struck him like a sniper's shot. He set the cards down and carefully took the stuffed bunny from her small hands. Under the dim glow of the fireplace, he turned it over. There, nestled deep in the seam, barely visible, a faint red blink pulsed from inside the cotton. He stood abruptly. "Sweetie, remember the game I taught you? The emergency adventure one?" Lily's eyes widened. "Like pretend camping?" "Exactly," he said, voice even. "Go pack your red backpack, the one with your flashlight. And Snowball comes too. But hurry, okay?" She nodded and darted upstairs, completely unaware of the storm gathering outside their warm little home. Jack walked to the garage, slid open the toolbox, and lifted the false bottom. His Glock was still there. So was the go bag. And the burner phone he hadn't touched since Afghanistan. It was happening. He had once been a man of war. Now he would be a man of survival. 27 minutes later, as they pulled away from the curb, Lily buckled in and singing softly to herself, the house exploded behind them. Not a gas leak, not an accident, a message. The fire swallowed everything they had left behind. Photo albums, birthday cards, the memories etched into drywall and baby blankets. Jack kept driving. No words, just the sound of his own breath and the dull roar of fire trucks in the distance. They didn't stop until they reached the diner on Highway 26. Jack parked with the rear bumper angled toward the road. His eyes scanned the dark horizon. Then the burner buzzed. "Dana?" Her name glowed on the cracked screen. He stared at it for a long moment, then answered, Jack? Oh my God, are you okay? I just saw the news. There was an explosion. We're fine, he said flatly. We weren't home. Jesus, Jack, they're saying it was a leak, a gas line. Are you sure? It was no leak. A pause, then too quickly. Where are you? Jack hung up. In the passenger seat, Lily hugged Snowball close, unaware of the implications hidden in her toy. A bunny that blinked, a home that burned. A mother who sounded almost too surprised. They drove on. It was only after they reached Ben's cabin, his old friend from the Corps, now a cybersecurity recluse living off-grid, that Jack found the truth waiting in the seams of the bunny. Inside the stuffed animal, just beneath the blinking device, was a flash drive. Jack booted up Ben's encrypted laptop, his fingers steady despite the tremor in his gut. The folder was named one word: insurance. It was filled with encrypted emails between Dana and someone named E. Wolf, a name Jack knew. Stratforce's head of special projects, former military contractor, ruthless, dangerous. The last message was timestamped the morning Dana left. We only need a few hours. The device is set for 8 p.m. He won't survive. Frame it as a fire. No loose ends. No loose ends. The words echoed in Jack's skull as he stood under the cold cabin porch, watching Lily chase a moth in the moonlight. She had been a loose end. Their daughter. That night, Jack didn't sleep. He stood watch with the Glock on the windowsill and a heart that had become a frozen weapon. And in the silence before dawn, a darker truth crystallized. He hadn't lost Dana. He'd been targeted by her. And the woman he loved had chosen to kill her family, for money, for power, or something worse. Could you forgive someone who planned your death and called it clean? What would you do if the person who betrayed you also left the only clue that saved your child? Because Jack is done running, and next, he's going hunting. Continue reading in part 2, The Wolves Behind the Glass. The wind howled across the ridge as Jack stood at the edge of the cabin deck, watching the sun crawl reluctantly into the sky. Mist still clung to the trees, like secrets unwilling to be revealed, and the scent of pine, wet earth, and wood smoke mingled in the air. Lily was asleep inside, curled next to her stuffed bunny beneath layers of handmade quilts. Jack hadn't slept. He couldn't. The emails played on repeat in his mind, the cold language, the strategic execution, the complete disregard for his life. And Lily's. No loose ends. The words weren't just orders, they were erasures. As if his daughter's smile, her giggle, her crayon dragons were just inconvenient. Ben stepped onto the porch, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. Figured you'd still be standing guard, he said quietly. Jack took the mug but didn't answer. His gaze remained fixed on the tree line as if daring someone to step out. She tried to kill me, Ben, he said finally, his voice more gravel than sound. She was the woman I trusted with everything. My life, my kid's life. And she left you a warning, Ben replied evenly. That drive saved you both. Jack turned, the fire in his eyes rising. That wasn't a warning. That was insurance for herself. She didn't leave it for me out of love. She left it in case things went sideways with Wolf. Ben nodded, accepting the rage without flinching. Then use it. Burn them both to the ground. The plan was already forming. Strategize, strike, disappear. Jack knew how to move like a shadow. He hadn't been a ghost in the Middle East for nothing. But then Lily cried out in her sleep. Jack was back inside in seconds, kneeling by her side. No fire, she whimpered. Daddy, no fire. I'm here, he whispered, stroking her hair. We're safe, Lily. You're safe. Her tiny hand reached for his, and he held it, grounding himself in the only reason he hadn't already pulled the trigger on vengeance. The next day, Jack drove into town using one of Ben's old aliases and a rusted pickup with Montana plates. It wasn't much of a town, just a post office, a gas station, and a grocery store, but he needed the essentials. Supplies, cash. A sense of normalcy for Lily. He wasn't ready for what he found instead. On the television behind the counter, a news anchor read in a steady, practiced voice, Stratforce Global spokesperson Dana Caldwell has filed a missing persons report for her husband, Jack Hunter, and their 6-year-old daughter, citing fears they were caught in the home explosion investigators are calling a gas-related accident. Jack froze. The The screen flashed a photo of him and Lily, Lily in his arms, laughing, birthday cake on her nose. It looked like a happy family. It looked like a lie. "She's setting the stage," Ben said that night, pacing the cabin. "If you're dead, you can't testify. If you're missing, she plays the grieving wife and distances herself from Wolf when it all comes crashing down." "She's getting ready to run," Jack murmured. "Or worse," Ben added. "She's trying to find you before you go public." Jack's hands curled into fists. "She's not going to get that chance." But something gnawed at him, even through the fury. Why the stuffed bunny? Why hide the drive in something Lily would never part with unless Dana wanted him to find it? Could she really be that cold, that calculated, and still have left behind a lifeline? He didn't want to believe it. He also couldn't afford to believe it. So he made a decision. The next day, Jack left Lily with Ben and drove 3 hours south to a safe house buried deep in the hills near a decommissioned ranger station. There, waiting with her sleeves rolled up and a Glock on her hip, was Riley Monroe. Riley had been a firefighter before she'd nearly died in a warehouse collapse, an incident Dana herself had helped cover up. Jack had met her years ago through a joint emergency training, and they'd shared coffee and close calls. She had scars now, both inside and out, but she still had that same sharp gaze that missed nothing. "You look like hell," she said by way of greeting. Jack didn't smile. "I need someone who's not afraid to look a 6-year-old in the eye and tell her everything's going to be okay, even if it's not. And if someone comes for her, you shoot to kill," Jack replied. Riley's expression hardened. "Done." That night before he left, Jack sat with Lily on the cabin floor. She was drawing again, this time a picture of 3 people holding hands, her, Jack, and Snowball. Behind them was a dark cloud with angry eyes. "What's that?" Jack asked softly. "The storm," Lily whispered. "But we're not scared of it anymore." Jack kissed her forehead. "You're braver than most grown-ups I know." She looked up at him, her eyes serious. "Is Mommy the storm?" The question hit him like a punch to the chest. He didn't answer right away. "She made a big mistake," he said finally. "A really big one, and now we have to be smart and safe until the truth comes out." "Is she still my mom?" He blinked. Of all the battles he'd prepared for, this one hurt the most. "Yes," he said hoarsely, "but that doesn't mean she's who she used to be." Lily looked down at her drawing and added something. When she held it up again, the cloud now had a single tear falling from one eye. "She didn't look happy," she said simply. Jack drove back into the night with that image seared into his mind. The next day, Riley texted, "She's here. Dana, parked near the diner. Alone. She's looking for you." Jack stared at the message. Dana had come without Wolf. No entourage, no backup, no press. Why? A trap? A mistake? Or something else? Would you trust the person who once saved your life if they were also the one who tried to end it? Because when Jack finally steps out of the shadows to confront Dana, what she says will change everything. Continue reading in part 3, The Ghost in the Mirror. The diner sat at the edge of a forgotten highway, flickering neon humming like a tired heartbeat. Jack parked across the road, engine idling, breath steady but shallow. He could see her through the glass. Dana. Sitting in the booth by the window, alone. Her hair pulled back, face pale, hands wrapped around a coffee cup that had long gone cold. She looked smaller than he remembered. Or maybe he had grown beyond the man she once knew. He stepped out into the wind. The bell above the diner door jingled when he entered. Dana looked up instantly, her expression unreadable. There was no gasp, no smile, no tears, just a silence that pulled every other sound out of the room. Jack slid into the booth across from her. "Hi," she said softly. Jack didn't answer. "I didn't think you'd come." "You left a bomb in our living room," he replied. "You're lucky I didn't bring the FBI instead." She flinched, and for a moment, he saw something flicker in her eyes. Not fear, something older, worn, hollow. "I didn't set it," she said. "You need to know that. I was part of the plan. Yes, I signed off on it, but I didn't press the button." Jack leaned forward, voice low. "So that makes it better?" "No," she said quickly. "No, it doesn't. I'm not asking for that." Silence passed between them again. Dana took a slow breath. I was going to run. That was always the plan. Wolf would finish the job and I'd vanish with a new name, new bank account, new life. But when I saw you leave with Lily that night, I realized I never wanted that life. Not if it meant trading her laugh for blood money. Jack stared at her, jaw tight. I hid the drive, she continued. I knew if anything happened, you'd find it. Some part of me wanted you to survive, even if I didn't deserve it. He shook his head, bitter. You used our daughter as your last line of defense. Dana's voice cracked. I used her to save you. Those words shattered something in him. He'd built walls these past weeks. High, cold, necessary. But now, standing face to face with the woman he once loved, he wasn't sure what he felt anymore. I didn't know how far it had gone, she whispered. At first it was just numbers. Spreadsheets. Money no one would miss. Then it turned into documents, approvals. And then, murder, Jack finished. It turned into murder. Dana closed her eyes. Yes. They sat in that booth for a long time. Jack could hear the hum of the kitchen, the clink of silverware from other booths. The world outside kept moving, but inside this moment, time had frozen. What now? She asked quietly. Do you turn me in? He didn't answer. Wolf's still out there, she said. I broke contact. I know things, Jack. Things that could bring the whole operation down. Jack's eyes narrowed. You want protection? Dana shook her head. No. I want to help finish what I helped build, but I want to tear it all down. The temptation was real. No one knew Wolf like she did. No one had access to the internal documents, the encryption keys, the offshore routes. And yet, this was the woman who had planned his death. I should hate you, he said. I know. I should want you in a cell for the rest of your life. I know that too. He stared at her, the ache in his chest deeper than fury. Because somewhere beneath the ashes of betrayal still smoldered the memory of a woman he once believed in. A woman who'd kissed their daughter's forehead at night and whispered stories about brave little girls and dragons. Lily still draws you, he said suddenly. She adds a teardrop to every picture of you. Dana's hand flew to her mouth. She says, Mommy looks sad. Tears welled in Dana's eyes now, unstoppable. She's right. Jack stood. I'll contact the authorities. If you want to cooperate, they'll listen. But I'm done being your shield. She didn't try to stop him. As he walked away, her voice reached him one last time. Jack? He paused. Tell her I never stopped loving her. He didn't turn around. He just walked out into the wind, the bell above the door ringing like the last note of a song that had played far too long. A week later, Ethan Wolf was arrested in an airstrip outside Zurich, intercepted by Interpol, following a leak of encrypted financial documents that had mysteriously landed in their inbox. It was enough to freeze his assets and issue an international warrant. Dana turned herself in the same day. The press covered it as a shocking twist. Corporate power couple exposed in global defense scandal. But behind the headlines, there was only a little girl watching her world reassemble in pieces. Lily asked questions. Jack answered them honestly, mostly. He told her that Mommy had made mistakes and was trying to fix them. She nodded. I want to draw her happy someday. And so they kept going. Not erasing the past, but growing beyond it. Jack sold the cabin and moved to a quiet coastal town where the air smelled of salt and possibility. He started a consulting firm for military veterans, small but steady. Lily made friends at her new school. Snowball sat on her bed, red light gone, just another stuffed bunny. One night, Lily left a drawing on Jack's pillow. It was a family of 3. One of them stood behind a fence, hand raised in a wave. A teardrop still marked her cheek, but her smile was wide. In Lily's uneven handwriting were the words, We remember, we forgive. Jack stared at the drawing for a long time. That night, he slept without checking the locks twice. He dreamed not of fire, but of water. Of sandcastles and laughter and the waves crashing just beyond reach. Not everything broken needs to be burned. Some things are meant to be rebuilt. What part of this story stayed with you the most and why? Comment 100 if this story touched your heart. Where are you watching from? Share this story with someone who believes in redemption. Thank you for watching Life Stories. Stad?